Hi, my name is Rachel Jamison. I teach fifth grade at Clubview Elementary School in Columbus, Georgia, and I'm super excited or frightened to tell you about Night of the Living Dummy by R.L. Stine. Night of the Living Dummy is about two twin sisters who are constantly in competition with one another. When one of them finds a surprise dummy in a dumpster next door, the other cannot stand not having a dummy of her own. When she gets her own dummy, strange things start happening. I think one of the first things that's super important to discuss in this story is author's craft. R.L. Stine has a great way of writing his stories. And in this particular book, we can lean towards mood being one of the first things that we want to focus on. Chris and Lindy are jealous of one another and they constantly have conflict. One sister gets super excited all of the time, and the other is almost sad most of the time or angry. And she has to fight her own battles within the story. R.L. Stine also uses a lot of imagery to demonstrate what he would like to get across to the reader, whether it's sensory terms like smelly, green, gooey, gassy, or emotional terms, frantically, excitedly, scarily. He does a great job using words that students would be able to relate to and make a connection while they are reading, making them want to read a little bit more, go further. Can't stop at the end of this chapter. I've got to know what happens in the next two sentences. One lesson that I would use this with is when we discuss predictions in class. That happens often. In my classroom, we do actually do novel studies. So this could be a book that we would pick up and use, not even around Halloween time, but anytime that we're going to do predictions. And I think one of the best things about focusing on predictions is that R.L. Stine ends every chapter with oh no, what's going to happen? And you can turn that into a writing piece with the students in class where they can predict what they believe is going to come up in the next chapter every single time. This could be a read aloud in the classroom. And as I'm reading aloud, students could be taking notes. And by the end of the story, we could create our own personal narratives that are spooky. We can also create an anchor chart that we use throughout the discussion of the novel, where we talk about character conflict. We talk about key settings. The setting of the story is very important. And because we talk about emotions and sensory images, we can also reflect back on how R.L. Stine paints a picture and how we can put ourselves in that scene. And then we can use that to write a story as well. And I think that virtually, just because you're behind a computer doesn't mean that you can't be crafty and artistic. So I think having students pull out a sheet of paper, and as you maybe read the chapter aloud, the students are able to draw and sketch what they believe Slappy looks like. And then they could do it again when Mr. Wood pops up in the story. The conflict between the sisters and how, halfway through the story, their jealousy really takes a toll and the green monster comes out, especially when you discover halfway through the book that the evil monster has been her sister. So you really turn into, do I feel sorry for her? Do I not feel sorry for her? Talking about personal conflict and then conflict between others. And I do think that sending that message is very important. I hope that my students take away the feeling that fear is just that. It's on the outside and you can overcome it. You don't have to be encompassed by being scared. Put yourself in the shoes of the character and find a way to solve the problem without crumbling under the pressure of fear. This book is perfect for upper elementary students, especially fifth graders. They can learn about fear, they can learn about imagery, they can learn about emotions, and they can learn how to overcome conflict throughout their everyday lives. I truly believe that this is the type of book you should add to your classroom library. I love reading it with my students, and I think your students would love it too.